Alright guys, so we got our foundation poured. I didn't get that on camera, but we got a 2-foot wide foundation, 1 foot deep, 1/2 inch rebar throughout the whole thing. We got our stickers going up. So foundation's all set. We're all good to go to start framing our retaining wall. I really didn't even see any kind of videos of someone kind of explaining the process of how to do a poured concrete retaining wall. I know guys use 12s or 8s, but we actually have to take this off and finish it. So we're creating our own forms, which consist of 3/4 inch plywood. You always want to use plywood, never use OSB wood. I know it's a little bit cheaper, guys, but it pays to have your plywood. I like to go 3/4 inch. Some guys do a 1/2 inch, but whenever you go 3/4 inch, you have to do less bracing in the back, which I'll show you in a little bit. So this is pretty much what our form consists of. It doesn't matter if you guys use pressure treated. This is pretty much all Home Depot had last night, so it's a little bit more expensive, but I had to do what I had to do. And in the back, I'll kind of show you how we framed it up. Just kind of basically how you do a stud wall. So very simple, just a little tedious. But yeah, I'll pretty much kind of walk you guys through the process. Here goes our 3/4 inch plywood. Make sure you get the 3/4 inch. I like 3/4 inch, so we have to do less bracing. Here's our 8s. So basically, just a little rundown before we start framing this up. We'll put 2 8s along the top, and then our cut in the middle is around 45, so 45 inches. So we'll do around 645s, and it's almost like a stud wall, you'll see. But once you get everything, you pretty much get everything screwed in, make everything plumb, and that is pretty much your panel. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoy part 2 of this. If you didn't check out part 1 before, go check it out. It was just getting everything excavated. You probably seen the buggy flip over and everything like that. But yeah, we're making some good progress on this retaining wall and concrete project. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy, and if you guys got any questions, let me know, because like I said, I haven't seen any kind of videos explaining the proper process to do this. All right, so remember, 3/4 inch plywood. You can go 1/2 inch, but you got to do more bracing. Now you just want to pick the best side. Our best side is pretty much here, so now we'll run our 2x4 along the top and along the bottom, and then after that we'll pretty much put our joist in. It also might be a little bit faster with an L gun, but today we don't have ours, so we're just going to use 2.5s and our impact, which will be sufficient enough. Might be a little bit slower, but it gets the job done. So I kind of line up my corners. We'll do one side, then you'll come knock out the other side real quick. You don't have to, you see there's a little, maybe like a 1/8 of an inch difference. You don't have to worry about that. Sometimes it's just a little bit off. And biggest thing, make sure you get 4x8 plywood and you get 8s, just so you don't have to make any first initial cuts. So now I usually put 5 screws, and I'll put 2 on the outside, 1 in the middle, and then 2 between that. And then that'll be pretty much it for our top main joist. So biggest thing, just make sure these are always straight. You always want to make sure you're straight, because you want your retaining wall to be straight. Any kind of bow, then it'll bow out your plywood. So please take a little bit of time. I pick out my own wood just because I know what I'm getting. So biggest thing, 3/4 inch plywood, and make sure your 2x4 studs are straight. And another thing, before you guys say, oh, you can use 12s or 8s, the reason we're doing these panels is because it'll be easier. So whenever, because this is going to be an exposed aggregate retaining wall, so we have to strip these sides, then we have to pretty much smooth them out, everything up, trowel it out, and then we have to spray our retardant and put plastic in. So instead of trying to peel off 4 12s, let's say, it's just easier to just take one panel off. It's less to worry about, and yeah, it's just a simpler process. And I'm, like I said, I'm surprised I still haven't seen any kind of video on how to do it. So hopefully, if you guys are got a project coming up and you weren't sure how to do it and you were looking online, hopefully you found this video, and hopefully this helps you guys out a lot. But yeah, this is pretty much just real tedious. It repeats itself. We got to make around 10 panels to complete this whole thing. So it is what it is. We might spend most of our day actually making these things. I know you guys can probably rent these somewhere, maybe like Knickerbocker. I know Knickerbocker rents them out, but we know, well, we got a place to store these, and we know we're going to use them for future projects. So it's just good to always have them. So 2 by 4 by 8s going across, and now we'll put 6 joists up, and then that's pretty much a form. All right, so Pete's making the measurements for our center joist. Just like I was saying, it's just like a stud wall. With this being 8 feet, you got, what's 8 times 12, what's that, 96. And then you divide that by 5, which basically gets you around 19.2. So we did 19 1/4. So that basically marks where our center studs or our joists are going for support. So we'll do that. We'll get it screwed in top, screw it down at the bottom, make sure everything's plumb. This is pretty much what the final product looks like. This is our final panel. It's 8 feet, about 4 feet. And then we'll pretty much get these set in, and we'll be good to go. So yeah, biggest thing, just real tedious. I'm not gonna keep recording every single one. Just kind of want to give you the synopsis of pretty much everything that we're doing. Takes a little bit of time, but like I said, we'll end up keeping these for how long? 10, 15, 20 years. As long as you take care of them, we'll keep them inside just so they're well taken care of. But yeah, pretty repetitive. Take us a little bit of time, but once we get our forms, and I think it'll pretty much fly. So once we get everything done, I'll be back. We'll pop in our chalk line, get everything tap-conned in and braced up, and then we'll be good to go. All right, guys, it's blazing, so I'm not recording that much. So bullshit. So pretty much we got our chalk line popped, and that's how we know our forms are perfectly straight. We're using our 2x4s to plumb it. Then we'll add a lot more kickers behind that. Basically for this, we're tap conning. You guys can see we use our tap cons, and we do that pretty much all the way down just so we make sure this bottom half don't kick out. Then we'll do a kicker in the medium section and kicker at the top. I'll do a kicker in pretty much every joist, so that's pretty much every 19 inches for this one. Retaining wall is only gonna be 4 feet high. So yeah, we're pretty much making some progress. What took the longest was making the actual the boards for the panels for the retaining wall. Yeah, we're getting there. Another quick tip, I wasn't able to reach behind there to put our tap cons in, so what I did before I put our panel on is I measured 4 1/4, which is the measurement of this. I measured that, and then I actually just tap conned the 2x4 behind that, just so whenever we go to strip the back, like the day after, we're actually able to take these off and not struggling and fighting. But yeah, just a nice little quick tip for you guys. So making progress. I always remember, whenever you guys do these retaining walls with the panels, or even pretty much any kind of poured concrete retaining wall that you're putting rebar in, you always want to do the back first, and then you do your rebar, and then you do the front. You never want to do the front first, and then you won't be able to access it pretty much. But yeah, that's pretty much it. We're working. It's blazing out here, but we're making progress. Thankful for the little bit of shade we got from these pine trees. But yeah, we're getting it in. All right, guys, we're back the day before our pour. We're starting to get our rebar in. Like I told you guys, you always want to put your back forms up, then your rebar, then your front form. So we're tying our rebar. This is around, wall is 4 feet high. So our rebar is 44 inches, connecting them to our stickers. We're actually doing it the old school method. I know you fancy guys got your tag guns, but it's pretty much all you need, baby. So yeah, we're pretty much just going to get everything tied up, and then we'll run our bigger 10-foot rebar, or our 1/2-inch rebar, just horizontally, and then after that we can start putting these faces on, and then we'll go from there. So should be a good day. It's Friday, concrete's coming on Monday, so we have to have this 100% done. We got our kickers here. We just got to make, what I believe, one more full panel, which is right here, and then we got around a 4-foot panel over here to make. So we should make some good progress. Hopefully it's not too long of a day, but me and Pete's doing our thing over here while the boys are on another project. And here's another quick tip. If your rebar's not in there, you always want to put like a nail in, and you always want to put it on the side that you're not pulling off. So we're pulling off this side, and we'll put our nail in here. We'll tie our rebar just so our rebar is in the middle of the two forms, because you never want to. Well, first you want to make sure everything's tied. So we tie, just because we're doing it by hand, we have to tie it twice. I'm not sure how that tie gun does. It's probably good in one time, but we basically tie it twice in here. It was starting to lean this way, so we use this. But the reason for that is, whenever you pull your face off, the worst thing, and will lead to catastrophic failure, is if let's say your rebar got pushed out against the form, then that's all you see, and there is really honestly no coming back from that. So we pretty much make sure everything's tight, very tight. Like over here we put like 4 in, 2. So you kind of want to over tie, especially if you don't got that tying gun. So just a quick little tip: if your rebar starting to shift over, you put a little nail in here, tie it off. That'll kind of bring that back. And we kind of use, I'm not sure what kind of gauge wire this is, but we use a wire in here. And once we pull our form off in the back, you won't even notice this is back here, because this is all gonna get backfilled. And yeah, good to go. Just a quick little tip for you guys. So yeah, we're about to keep rolling with this. We'll get all this tied up, then we'll start putting our foams in the face. But I just wanted to give you that quick little tip. Another quick tip for you guys, as you guys know, concrete loves to crack in the corner. So we're gonna put our actual our saw cut in the corner. But another quick tip, you got your stickers right here. And what I mean by stickers, if you don't follow me, it's basically our rods that we put in our actual foundation. The way it lines up, don't just have it in right here. Like, let's say I put a rod here and have it in right here, because like I said, the concrete loves to crack. So just bend your own 90s. You don't got to have no kind of special rebar bending tool. You can just bend it by hand, and then just make sure it runs at least 2 feet this way and 2 feet this way. Just a nice radius, just so we know once it cracks in this corner, it won't separate. Yeah, just another quick tip for you guys. Make sure you always do your back first, do your rebar, and then we're working on our front plate now. So that's pretty much how it's done. We're going to finish putting our last plates on. We get everything tap conned in, and then we have our 2x4s. We're going to just do a lot of bracing. One thing I like to stress is you only get one chance to do this. You don't want your wall to start to be wavy and kind of bow out where these joints are. And that's why I like using the 3/4 inch plywood over the 1/2 inch, because this pretty much stops that. This is very sturdy right now before we even put our kickers in. You always want to get this right. You don't want to have to come back and redo this thing because your walls wobbly or anything like that. So just always get it done right the first time. Might cost an extra couple bucks, but it's worth it to get everything properly secured and framed up, especially when you're pouring this wall and you got the pump guys standing on the wall and this and that. So just another quick tip for you guys. So yeah, we're about to get this finished up, and should be the weekend for us. All right guys, so that's pretty much it. We got our kickers in, everything nice uniform. Wall is super sturdy. Kickers in the front, kickers in the back. We got our 4-foot pins holding the kickers. Everything's looking very good. Everything's straight as an arrow. Can't ask for a better day. So today's Friday, got concrete coming on Monday. So I will see you guys whenever the concrete's here. All right guys, concrete is almost here. Got our pump all set up to go. The boys are about to head off to another job site. Pretty much what we got going on. It should definitely be an easy day. Yeah, we pretty much got 6.5 yards. It only came out to about 5. One thing to note, whenever you pump, this pump usually eats up 1/4 of a yard, so you got to take account for that. But yeah, everything's braced up. We got tons and tons of kickers. Hopefully you guys can see in there, but we got our form release sprayed on our forms. I might spray some day one, because whenever we take this off, we'll spray day one, and day one is basically a concrete finishing aid that doesn't weaken the surface of the concrete, but it honestly really doesn't matter. So just a quick tip. And I kind of like, whenever we pour these walls, I like doing exposed over regular, because you can use a little bit of water, you can use a little bit of finishing aid, because at the end of the day, don't forget the surface of the wall is going to be sprayed off. So yeah, basically we got all of our kickers in, just waiting on concrete. It's probably 10-15 minutes behind. Just kind of wanted to give you a final show of what everything looked like before we before we start pouring and taking the forms off. We got our 2-inch PVC in here. We got one down here and one down here. Everything perfectly symmetric. So yeah, we're all good to go. All we're doing is waiting on concrete. Like I told you guys, make sure everything's braced up properly. We were tugging and yanking on this thing. This thing is not going nowhere. It's sturdy. And don't forget, you only get one time to do this. So yeah, concrete's on its way. I'll see you guys whenever the concrete gets here.
You gotta do like this. Zip,
Right.
You can't let go. Nope, too much. Well, we have plenty of drops on the unit. Because every day, there's a different labor.
Right.
Even the vibrator. We like, yo, man, just dip it. You know, I'm over here. Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Appreciate you. All right, she's all covered. I might give it an hour, hour and a half. Then we'll be back to do a light wash. Probably just by hose, maybe the power washer. We got it here ready to go. Cause of this pump, man. Woo. This set up faster than we thought, but it worked out. We had our day one, and whenever you do exposed aggregate, and that's why I like to do it, you're able to use water as well as a retardant, just because this whole surface is going to be power washed off. So we got everything covered up. We got our retardant sprayed on here. Probably be back in maybe an hour and a half to get this lightly sprayed off, and then we'll be good to go. Working on this, I've been spraying. I usually spray below what you're actually going to see, just in case it's not ready. But as you can see, it's starting to wash off pretty good. All right, guys, our wall is in. This is our next process. It's called a chem wash. The reason we do this, and I'm not sure if you can tell on camera, but how this part is darker and this part is like white and cloudy, the chem wash gets rid of that kind of white cloudyish look. And then we'll leave it up to the customer if you want to keep the wall as is, or if you want to do a nice seal. So basically what we use, you can either use a muriatic acid, but we use a Sure Clean 600. I dilute it, 5 parts water, 1 part acid, and I'll put it in this bottle, and I'll show you guys the process. But you pretty much dampen the surface. You spray your acid on there, you agitate it with a broom, and then you wait maybe around 2-3 minutes. You let it set in, you let the acid do its thing, and then you wash it off. So pretty much just use your regular garden hose. Just get your surface nice and damp. This is the last part I did. The rest of the walls you guys can see. So you get your surface wet, and then let me get some pumps. Make sure your sprayer's all pumped up, and then you can start to apply your acid. Make sure you're always wearing your proper protection equipment, gloves, mask, glasses, everything like that. Then you pretty much just spray your acid on just as such. And I know you guys are probably like, oh, you set the wear and then you don't got gloves on. It's fine. Maybe it's not, but as you guys can see, the acid's running down the wall. It's doing its thing. You can see kind of like that tannish mark. It's getting that soot off. It's getting that fine layer of like cement or whatever, or mortar or whatever off. So you give it a nice acid wash. I work top to bottom. Some guys work bottom to top. Whatever your personal preference is. I'll come, push broom. I like to use a soft broom. You don't want to put too much pressure on it. Hit the top. And you hit the surface of it. Just work down. You can work back up. Now once that acid is agitated, I like to let this sit for maybe 2-3 minutes, and then I'll be back to power wash it off. Well, not power wash, but hose it off. All right, so once it's been a couple minutes, just give it a nice hosing. Just make sure all the acid is washed off the retaining wall. You don't want to leave that acid on because it will burn the wall, will discolor it. So just make sure you give it a nice bath, and then you should be good to go. Pretty simple, but it's a big step whenever you're doing exposed aggregate, or even when guys point and do the brick mortar. It's just a mortar wash. So just a quick little tip. A lot of guys don't know that, but it kind of makes a huge difference in the final appearance of the wall.